Welcome to the Football Retro Podcast.
The word welcome, I guess, is stretching it a little when you're an Australian in a place like this today.
Hello and welcome to episode 53 of the Football Retro Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny, and the full crew's here. Fatty, Hacken and Darcy, how you doing, guys?
Well, man, full crew. I mean, technically, you're the one that's back. You're the one who was missing last week.
That's
so
true.
you're introducing us like we were missing. You were missing, mate. Welcome back.
The full crew's back together. That's what it is.
What happened to you?
I wanted to give Akka a chance to host and step up.
Yeah.
And he did really well. So
that's not what you said off. That's what you said off. That's not what you said off camera. That's not what you said off camera.
I was getting dirty messages from Darcy and Fatty about Akram hosting, but it's okay. It happens.
Better than I thought.
Darcy, what are you doing to me, mate? What's going on?
How you doing, Ak?
Darcy?
How you doing, Ak?
Some backstage politics, bro.
How you doing? Do you want to defend yourself or?
Darcy?
Akram,
You want to defend yourself?
Defend myself? No, I mean, you defended me for me pretty well. I'm disappointed that my co-host over here were trying to sabotage me behind my back, Johnny. Did they want to get hosting maybe next week? Maybe that's why.
Darcy, how you doing, man?
Good. A big weekend with football and a great one too for different reasons. But looking forward to
only one reason for you. What do you mean different reasons? We know the reason. It's
he
great
had
for
to
you.
wear the hat. He had to wear the hat. We'll jump onto it soon. Don't worry about that. We'll talk about it.
And you had to wear the shirt too.
Mate, it's a big weekend of football for more than one reason.
Yeah.
He looks like he hasn't slept.
Me, I'm just on a high. So as you can see, got my Vélez jersey on. We beat Boca.
Yeah, I see another one in the corner there.
That's a 1994 jersey.
Yeah, fuck, I forgot about. Tell us that story. What's 94? I don't remember.
So today we beat Boca 2-0. A close game, tough game, all over them. They didn't shoot once. So happy. I'm extra happy today. So anything you can say to me, I don't give a shit about. It's a big weekend in Argentinian football as well, with a local derby playing place, Lorenzo and Huracan. Huracan won 2-1. So as a partner here at Football Retro, will be happy as well. And apart from that, there's been 5 different derbies on this weekend. A big weekend of football, like you said, Darcy.
Yeah, it was huge. You had the Clasico in La Liga, of course, and you had Manchester United, Liverpool, and EPL, Inter Juve, Ajax, PSV, and then the other one was Marseille, PSG.
That's right.
Big games, all across Europe.
So definitely lots
and
of
some
action.
big results too.
Yeah.
Unexpected results, I think.
Yeah.
So it's a good opportunity for us to speak about these derbies in particular. We'll touch on these ones today. Obviously, we all love a good rivalry. We love, I'm not going to say hatred because it's a big word, but we love a healthy rivalry between two clubs, the fans, the city, being a country being split, the media getting involved, different opinions from all around the world. So let's start with Serie A, Akram. I know you love this. I know you love
Absolutely
this one. And it's, what do they call it? Derby d'Italia.
Yes.
Why do they call it that?
I mean, because they are the two most, I would suppose, successful clubs in Italy. AC Milan is certainly a close third, but I think their success throughout their history has been more in the European Cup rather than in Serie A. So I think that's why these two are considered the Derby d'Italia, and because of the history that they've had. I thought it was a very interesting tie. I thought it was a very interesting game. We started the season, Juventus couldn't win a game, couldn't get a point.
Mm-hmm.
And Inter started the season off very, very strong. And this game completely showed how far these 9 games or so have come, and how different the situation is for them.
Yes, I mean, obviously it ended up in a 1-1 draw.
Yeah.
And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Inter may still be favourites to win Serie A, to hold the title, even though they've lost Lukaku, even though they've changed coach, even though they've self-claimed to be in financial trouble.
Yeah, 100%.
Would you say they're still favourites to win Serie A and hold the title?
Look, recent results have started to go against them. But you're right, leading into the season, with the losses of Lukaku, Hakimi, etc., Inter were seen as vastly reduced in terms of talent. Without Conte, it was seen as maybe they would do well just to maintain Champions League. However, entering the league and entering the season this year, then we found that Lautaro Martinez, Nicola Barella really stepped up and filled that void that they were missing. And Simone Inzaghi had actually performed pretty well as manager, and so they were going really strong in the first few games of the season. Results started to go against them a little, and Juventus, who couldn't get a point in the first few games, and everyone felt like Cristiano Ronaldo was justified to leave. They're starting to pick up steam again and settle down. And I think these games showed that. A few weeks ago, I don't think it would have been a 1-1 draw. I think Inter would have won easily.
Fair enough. Boys, did you watch the highlights? Any opinions on this big matchup?
Yeah, I watched the highlights across Europe actually. I always like to catch up because I don't get to watch all the games at the same time. But yeah, as Akram said, it was ironic. I was reading an article today. I don't know if it was Bonucci who came out and was saying something like, "Oh, Ronaldo should have left earlier" or something. Obviously taken out of context, because I would assume he meant that it would have given them time to restructure, not that they didn't want him. Yeah. But they didn't know how to. They obviously clickbait their run with that headline. But yeah, Juventus did struggle, but it looks like they've they've settled back into some good form. I think it'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting title race. I think. I hope it's interesting enough that teams are challenging towards the end and really invigorate Serie A again. Not just, we don't want one team to run away with it. For the sake of good competition, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're certainly right, mate. Serie A is perhaps the most tightest competition right now in Europe. There's only a few points separating between the top 4, top 5 sides. AC Milan, who looked like they were, going to get a negative result this weekend because of Zlatan Ibrahimovic's first ever own goal. They turned around and they were able to win. And I think in AC Milan from a couple of years ago, they would have lost this fixture. So it shows how far Milan have come, that they were able to settle themselves down and get the win. So you can see that the race is going to be really tight, I believe, between Milan, Inter, and Juve.
I'm just looking out back to see if you were being biased in regards to when you said it's the tightest league.
I'm going to question that because it's like 7-point gap, isn't there, between top 2 and then the rest?
Yeah. So Inter at third are 7 points behind second.
Yeah. Napoli doing quite well.
Napoli are doing very well. Yeah, they're performing very well.
Yeah.
Before we move on to Serie A, let's just take one moment to mention, because it needs to be spoken about. How about Roma copping 6 goals midweek?
Against some Norwegian side, in the Conference League. I don't know if it's Europa League, Conference
League. Everyone I
League.
speak to had to Google what the team was, because not many people have heard of this team before. And for Roma, and especially Mourinho, to cop 6 goals, wow.
Yeah, I mean, regardless, whether who they're playing and whether they rested all these players or not, that's still a massive result. And I think his punishment for this weekend's game was putting those players that played in that 6-1 loss in the stands. Borja Mayoral was one of them, and a few others as punishment. So you can see, I don't know, the way you look at it, rested players, but still 6-1 is not a good look on him.
Is this Mourinho's worst ever defeat?
Oh, he's had that 5-0 Clasico loss in 2010.
Sure.
His first Clasico.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, he's had some erratic results, Mourinho, but
6-1 was 6-1 was unpredictable.
Yeah.
It was not good for the punters out there.
No.
But Napoli, still undefeated.
Yeah, still undefeated. Osimhen has been playing lights out this month of October, and wasn't able to get on the score sheet this weekend. I think they got a draw against Lazio, if I believe correctly.
Roma this morning.
Yeah. So you know what? They're doing very, very well. It's funny because in Serie A they tend to swap coaches a lot. And Luciano Spalletti was with Inter and then was removed to for Conte, and now he's joined Napoli, and all of a sudden he looks like the coach of the season for Serie A. So they just, that merry-go-round with the coaches over there is always so fun to watch.
Let me take you back to the Derby d'Italia. Now, I don't know if you guys tend to do the same thing, but especially in Argentina, it's known to compare in the history of a match between two clubs, who's got the most wins. And then, like, if fans tease each other and saying, we've got the upper hand on you, we say, you're my son because I've got it over you. Like, that's just the banter that happens over there. Who do you think, between Juve and Inter, who do you think's on top?
Juventus.
And you're right. Obviously, Juventus is the most successful team in Italy.
Yeah.
They've played a total amount of 242 matches. It's a big difference. 110 wins to 72 wins. Juve are on top.
Yeah.
Did you guys catch the Netflix special by any chance on Juve?
No, I haven't
Not
watched
yet.
it yet.
Not
I
yet.
haven't
no.
watched it yet.
Something on the to-do list.
I've got a few
Yeah.
to catch up on, actually.
Yeah, that's one I want to watch, definitely.
So, and it's stuff like that makes you wonder. Obviously, this has come to light. So I'm watching it and I'm thinking, this is just a small part of what we know and what they found out and what's out there now. But how often is that happening around the world? How often does it happen that we don't know about? The FIFA gate, all this stuff that's a little bit of it's coming out to light, but it'd be interesting to see how much is happening behind the scenes.
And saying that, though, sometimes I don't want to know it, because then it throws everything into doubt. And you start to doubt every single game, every single fixture, every single league. And you start to wonder whether it's fixed or not. And then it just takes away that, that fantasy, if you want to call it that. And you think, fuck, it's not, this is all bullshit. It's all rigged. I don't want to watch this anymore.
Mm.
So sometimes it's sort of, you rather just turn a blind eye, I suppose.
All right, so we know you've got the upper hand. Let me ask you, I'm going to go around and ask you guys, when you think of the Juve jersey, what face or what player comes to mind?
Me, Del Piero back in the 90s, I think with a Sony sponsor. Yeah, I think that for me.
For
I think it
me,
was back
it's... Sorry.
Then I go.
For me, it has to be Trezeguet or Nedved. I think Trezeguet more, for some reason, just synonymous for me up front for Juventus. I don't know why. I just always picture him tall, lanky fucker.
Ak?
For me, it's Del Piero or Nedved. Definitely. I mean, and it speaks to the time which we were watching football in our youth. That peak of football that we all like to return back to.
Look, I agree on the Del Piero. I'm really disappointed that no one said Platini.
Before our time.
What about Inter? When you think of the Inter jersey, I think of Zanetti.
Yeah, Zanetti's one of them, and also R9, Ronaldo.
I think of Sinisa Mihailovic. I used to like him in midfield for some reason. I don't know why. And
they're talking about 2000s about Mihailovic, yeah.
Trying to go different, mate. Nah, it has to be Zanetti or Ronaldo, eh?
Zanetti, absolutely.
Zanetti encapsulates what Inter was, especially for us in that era. And R9 was, R9 during that time with the Inter jersey. I love that jersey as well. If you guys have been watching the highlights on the weekend, what are you guys thinking of this zigzag stripes?
Not a fan.
Awful.
Not a fan.
I thought about buying an Inter jersey recently, and the last couple of years have just been ugly designs. Like I haven't been a fan of them.
To be honest, I find that's happening with a lot of Serie A jerseys. Like Juventus jersey is awful too. I don't know what's going on there. I think that they really hit their perfect kind of color and look and style in that 90s and 2000, where they just kept it clean and simple and fresh. AC Milan as well. It's a fantastic jersey back in that early 2000s. And I don't know why they're trying to go a little too different.
But even Chelsea's been last 2 years ugly jerseys. Sometimes I feel like they do it on purpose, and they put out ugly jerseys so they can go back to a classic design the year after and sell it even more, make it even more interesting.
I think we need a topic just on jerseys one day. There's a lot to discuss.
All right, let's jump out of Italy. Let's jump out of Italy. I want to go into the Dutch league for a second. Now, out of all the derbies that we're talking about, there's one Aussie player that played for both teams in the same derby. He's a bit of a trick.
In which derby?
In the Dutch one. There's a player that played for both teams, Ajax and PSV.
Jason Chelina, wasn't it?
He was Colina, well done.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a tricky one because he didn't really play much for Ajax and he only had a handful of games.
He didn't do much at Ajax, no.
Yeah, it was more his time at, I think, FC Twente than PSV when Gus Hiddink was there.
He went on loan.
Yeah.
Ronald Koeman was one of the people that went from Ajax to PSV, one of the handful of people that went from one club to the other.
Yeah.
He's having a bad weekend. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, the Dutch league, Ajax are on fire.
Yeah, look, I love the Dutch league. I touched on this a few times before. We mentioned it last week. I generally enjoy watching the Dutch league. Very, very exciting. Very underrated, I think, league. A lot of young talent, along with a lot of good prospects there simply because they don't have the same kind of money to throw like the Premier League to bring in established players. So there's always a gem being discovered there, and a lot of emphasis on youth. With the Dutch system and the way the Dutch have run their academies. So a lot of good young players come out of that. In saying that, big result on the weekend, Ajax, 1v2 separated by a point to then win 5-0. That says a lot about the difference in class, the Ajax and everyone else, really. I think the last few years, especially since that run that Ajax had in the Champions League, they've really just separated themselves from the rest of the pack in the Dutch league. Previously, it was a lot more even. PSV, Feyenoord, even Twente when who was that English manager that was there?
Steve McLaren.
Steve McLaren. There were teams there challenging, but Ajax really pulled away the last 4 or 5 years, I think. And there's a bit of a gap now. There's daylight between them and the rest of the teams. It's still close. The league is still fairly competitive, but it's starting to become too big a gap.
Let's not forget this is the Ajax side that was after the 2019 Champions League semi-final. That was a bit dismantled. People started taking players here and there, and that's sort of in a way rebuild. They're doing well in the Champions League, from what I remember, and they're doing really well in the Dutch league, obviously.
Yeah, they're coming first in their group in the Champions League, 3 wins from 3, including that 4-0 win over Dortmund the other week. And their striker, Sebastian Borla, he's on fire, scoring a lot of goals at the moment. So, I mean, Ajax is Ajax. They're synonymous with great youth development, as Fadi mentioned, and they just keep producing all this talent. And while they might not always light Europe on fire, the Dutch league, they've just got that stronghold a lot of the time over the years. Yeah.
Let's look some stats from this current league. In 10 games, 37 goals for, 2 against. That's just massive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I mentioned that before. The Dutch league is a very attack-minded league. So always a lot of goals. You're bound to see goals watching any fixture in the Dutch league. If it's excitement you're after, then you're watching the right league. But I mean, that's still crazy statistics, even by the Dutch standards, to have an average of 3+ goals a game and to concede two goals in 10 games. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
All right, who's got the upper hand? Ajax or PSV?
Ajax.
Ajax.
Yeah, Ajax 79, PSV 65.
Wow.
Same.
A bit of a bigger gap than I thought.
Yeah, because PSV is not a small club either.
Yeah. But I suppose if you think about those decades, like the 70s, for example, the Cruyff years, Ajax's history, I guess, it's been a little older and a little richer than PSV's. And certainly in the last, like Fatty said, in the last 5 years, Ajax has certainly started to pull away as the more dominant club.
So let me ask you the same question. When you think of both jerseys, who comes to mind? I know who Fatty's going to say.
No, not who you think I'm going to say.
For me, Ajax, again, 90s time, Jari Litmanen, the great Finnish player back in the 90s. Yeah, like Jari Litmanen. There was plenty. You could pick a lot. Mark Overmars, Patrick
For me,
Kluivert.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. For me, Patrick Kluivert in that Ajax jersey. Definitely.
For me, I got to say, like, certainly, I think about Ibrahimovic. At the time when he was playing for Ajax, he started to get a lot of the plaudits and a lot of the attention and the hype was building around him. And I just remember that very specifically. For whatever reason. The other player I have to say is Johan Cruyff. I mean, there's no picture of Johan Cruyff without being in that Ajax jersey. It's either the Ajax jersey or the Dutch jersey. It's very funny and feels quite odd when you see him in the Barcelona jersey. It's very rare when they pair photographs with him in the Barcelona jersey. To me, he's synonymous with Ajax.
Funny you picked Ibrahimovic, one of the biggest prostitutes in football.
It's like saying Anelka.
Yeah, like Anelka. What do you think when you think of Chelsea? Anelka, come on, bro.
Yeah,
No, it's like I said, for whatever reason, time and place where you just were zeroing in on giving that moment some attention for whatever reason.
See, Ajax, I see Cruyff, I see Van Basten, and I see that 95 jersey. The 95 jersey.
Yeah, away one. Yeah.
You know what? Watching Arsenal the other day, they've got a very Ajax jersey like this season.
The blue one with a bit of
the white stripes go all the way down, and it looks a little bit like the Ajax.
That Ajax offset jersey. I love that.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite ones. I'll say that design's a classic. Yeah. Fuck, we're talking about jerseys again. Let's just make it a jersey episode.
PSV, who comes to mind for PSV? For me, is R9. I see that jersey, R9 or Romario.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, Romario back in the 90s, he was one of them. And also for me, Belgian striker Luc Nilis. He was a great player for them for a number of years. And Ronaldo
until he went
a lot.
Until he went to fucking Aston Villa.
Yeah, had that horrific leg injury, ended his career.
That's right.
But he was known with PSV, great striker. And Ronaldo, R9, said one of the best strikers he played with the time. So him and Ruud van Nistelrooy as well.
Nah, for me, PSV, it's a bit more recent than that. I'd say Philip Cocu. Very, very big there at PSV, and it was around a time when he was very heavily involved in the Dutch squad. That Dutch team of the late 90s, early 2000s. Lanky midfielder. I like their jersey too, actually. The half.
Mm-hmm.
Even no, sorry, that was Feyenoord. My bad. PSV Feyenoord, very similar color jerseys, the red and white.
Yeah.
Feyenoord for me is De Kooi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even Van Persie.
Yeah.
True. Who you gonna say Ak for PSV?
Oh, honestly, R9 and Ronaldo, R9 and Romario for PSV all the way.
Fair enough. Special mention for Suarez and Ajax in regards to it's probably very sentimental for him. It's the first time he actually beat someone on the field wearing an Ajax jersey. So
the
first one we saw about him.
The first time saw was a special one. So it must be sentimental for
against PSV, I think it was as well.
That's if you tell me who he beat.
Right, check it.
I'm kicking you out of this chat.
Check it.
Kick him out.
Now he's going to purposely get it wrong.
I know, it was Otman Bakal. It was a Moroccan player.
Bro, check it. Johnny, please check it right now.
No,
fucking hell.
It's going to make me angry.
Come on, these things I got to remember. You got to remember this stuff.
How are you going to remember that?
Why did you bite him, Darcy?
I don't know. Ask Suarez. You played against him. Didn't he bite you?
Oh yeah.
No, he nutted him. That's different.
Suarez beat Otman Bakal.
Carl. Remember that.
Fuck. How do you remember that? What were you doing to remember it? What reminded
Was
you?
it? Well, I can't.
I just muted Darcy. It made me angry. He's on mute for the next 10 seconds for pissing me off. You know, you have no right to remember that or know that stat
Right,
about
he was
life.
just about to tell us how he remembered it.
All
Like, I
right,
just
all
wanted to hear that. Fuck. Oh, he gave us a thumbs up. Look.
He's back. He's back.
I got to use the reactions.
Tell us how you remembered that, bro. Please. I need to know.
I don't. It was on the news. It was all over the media.
What fucking news?
It was on the media.
Come on, bro. That's the biggest bullshit I've ever heard. But why? Come on, bro. Look at Johnny.
I think it was before
I don't believe that.
2010 World
I don't
Cup.
believe that. I think
or
there's
after. I can't remember.
I'm ready. I'm ready to move on.
Yeah.
I'm ready to move because I'm getting angry. Let's jump onto the French league. I don't think we're going to spend too much time on this. Obviously, Darcy, give us 30 seconds on PSG versus Marseille.
It was
seconds.
a tense match, scoreless draw. You know, as usual, derbies matches tend to be like that with not many chances. This one, Ashraf Hakimi got sent off for a straight red.
Hakimi.
Yeah. So PSG. Yes, more drop points for PSG. I think they lost a couple of weeks ago, and then they won, and then they've drawn again. So
Yeah, but
gap
they
is
still,
sort of closing.
they still got a. How many points ahead are they?
I think it's 6 points ahead, 6 or 7.
Yeah, this early in the season, that's a big gap.
Yeah, and Ramos again hasn't played yet. So
Yeah, what is up with that? I read a few reports. He's pissed off about something. He thought he was going to debut, and then they told him he's not ready or some shit. The doctor told him.
His injury problems are they're more serious than what he probably thought. He's 35 now, so injuries are catching up to the guy, I think.
And what about a bit of the history between the two clubs? Obviously, a lot has changed since PSG got the money.
Yeah, so Marseille were, PSG's only been around since 1970, so they're still fairly like a young club. They're not as old as all the other established clubs, and like they did have that popularity in the 90s with Makocha and Ronaldinho came along and George Weah was there. But Marseille, I think, when they got taken over by Bernard Tapie, who just recently passed away, they built a strong side in the 90s, and then they won the Champions League, of course, but then they got done for match fixing in the French league and had, I think, their title stripped, which kind of tarnished their reputation. But I think, of course, since PSG were bought out by the Qataris, they've just, they've just been too strong for everyone, not just Marseille, but the whole league itself. So, but it's always good matches to watch. Le Classique, they call it. So, Paris, capital, and Marseille, the port city, and a big rivalry there. So, yeah, good matches.
Obviously, the more stars that go towards the league, like the Neymars, the Di Marias, the Ibrahimovic that went, the more we get to see from the league here in Australia or all over the world. But I feel like the French league is not one that's on our forefront in regards to news, media, highlights, and stuff like that. So we're getting introduced to the league itself, and people like Messi obviously go in there help. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but Maradona had an agreement with Marseille. So he was promised that after he won the Serie A title, he was able to leave and go to the French league, a league where he thought he'd be more relaxed for his lifestyle. They won't be in his face. And the Napoli president, after he said, yeah, I promise you if we win, you can go. The agreement was done between Maradona and Marseille. And then the president turned his back and said, no, you're staying here. I need you here. We want you here. And wouldn't let him go. So we could have seen Maradona in the French league, and who knows what would have happened. Probably would have died of a drug overdose if he was in the French league doing whatever he wanted. But yeah, that's an interesting fact right there.
Yeah.
A lot happening in the French league, mate. Mauro Icardi embroiled in another scandal again. That's what I know.
That's embarrassing. That's what it is.
What is going on? Is that they together again or what? I don't know.
So he got caught. Yeah, they are.
Oh, they're back now.
I'll give you 30 seconds of this gossip stuff.
Here we go.
Before we move
Football
on,
gossip.
he got caught messaging or talking to this Argentinian model, and she's known for going after married guys.
I had a look at her. To be fair, she's better than what he's married to. Let's just be honest.
100%. So the wives come out on Instagram and said shit about this other model chick. Then Icardi's begging for forgiveness through Instagram. It's just everything's like a face palm. So he's been away for 3 training sessions. Didn't play a game because of personal problems. And then the other day he put up a photo of him and his wife naked on the bed, saying, "Say you're single on Instagram, but then you ask for come say sorry during the middle of the night." Like, they got fucked in the head.
I think what's his name, Maxi Lopez, is watching this with and enjoying this.
Yeah, it was fucked up when that whole shit happened with Maxi Lopez.
Yeah.
But then he went and got tattoos of Maxi Lopez's kids, and what the fuck, bro? What is that? Like, I get it if people move on in situations and in relationships, but that was just another level, man. These people are just crazy.
All right, time for the truth. Who's on top, PSG or Marseille?
I'm gonna say Marseille, just based on history.
Yeah, I would have to say Marseille as well.
Interesting.
But
That does make sense.
Their winner is PSG. 45 games to 33, actually.
Wow.
It must have been the recent meetings that they've kind of overtaken.
In their League One, it's 32 games each. So they're tied in that. But the other cups, PSG edged them out. Once again,
It's funny.
You go.
It's funny. Not many leagues focus on that. I know, obviously, you said in the Argentinian league, that's a big thing. In the Premier League, they do that a lot. So before big games, especially, they'll always show a head-to-head, and how many previous meetings or derbies or things like that. They will talk about it, so it's relevant to them. I know the English fans go on about it for bragging rights and shit, but I think it's a little irrelevant sometimes. As time progresses, it becomes more irrelevant, especially when there's the gulf of class between 2 clubs. If one's been bought out and they've got millionaires, then it becomes, it becomes no point. Like, there's no point getting smashed 5-0 and saying, "Oh, but we've got more wins than you."
It's part of the football culture, I guess, and the
bragging rights
and the banter. Once again, quickly, you think of the Marseille jersey. Who do you think of?
Marseille. I don't know, probably Drogba.
Okay.
He started there. Yeah.
Not many people knew about Drogba there, unfortunately, but it was funny. A story about Drogba when he played against Mourinho, and he was at Marseille, and Mourinho wanted him, and he said, "Oh, one day I'll play for you," and he ended up obviously signing him at Chelsea. It was crazy.
Fergie speaks about wanting Drogba as well, and then Mourinho beat him to him.
Yeah.
Anyone else, Marseille?
No, I mean, got to say, the list is pretty thin. I would have to go with the nicest pick of Drogba. Unfortunately, it's just not a club that's had too many players that, I guess, enter into our mind very quickly. I'm sure if you listed a few players, we would say we'd be surprised who's played for them and things like that, Johnny.
Well, to me, it's the standout Payet, who's currently in the team.
Yeah.
I think because he made such a big deal about wanting to go into Marseille, that to my forefront, and Deschamps as well. Obviously played a big part as a coach and as a player.
Payet just wanted to go back to the lifestyle. I think is a fuckwit. He didn't get along in England. He caused too much trouble at West Ham. Even though he was a good player, he showed flashes of brilliance, but he was riddled with off-field problems. I think that's why they let him go.
What about PSG?
For me, I'd say Ronaldinho with that Opel sponsor.
Yeah, definitely that PSG Opel sponsor, and it's either Ronaldinho or Jojo Okocha.
Yeah, same.
Well, the first time I heard about this club was because Bianchi from Argentina went and played for them in the 70s and 80s. He actually held a record that Zlatan Ibrahimovic beat him not long ago in regards to how many goals in a season. So obviously he comes to mind, and yes, he's a big Vélez idol. Everything
Not
else
biased at all.
he played for
biased at all.
Vélez before and after going to France. But yeah, Ronaldinho is the next one that comes to mind. And obviously, in modern days, you got Neymar and Messi that jump out. But yeah, we'll see what happens in the future with the money they have and who else they're going to bring in.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the derby that no one cared about this weekend, El Clasico. The least cared El Clasico from recent memory, in my opinion. Like El Clasico, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's probably the most watched, the most interesting, the biggest, or at least it has been over the last 15 years, the biggest derby in the world. Even as a neutral fan, you'll get up and watch it. This weekend was probably the least cared about derby out of, I'm not going to say all 5 of them, but compared to some of the other ones, it's just not, the attraction is not there anymore. The players have left. Barca couldn't even fill the stadium. La Liga itself is in a bit of a decline in regards to the quality of stardom that's in the league. Darcy, you've got the hat on. You're wearing it proudly. Yes, you won. And you must be the only person in Australia that cares about it. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, look, it was wasn't the best game for Real Madrid, but they got the win, 2-1. Barcelona had their chances. Serginho Dest had that one in the first half, blazing over the bar from right in front. But Real had a couple more in the second half. They've got some good run of results now against Barcelona in the Clasico in the last couple of years, which is good. But yeah, I think you've touched on it now. The star players like Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, first time neither of them been in this fixtures for like 15 years now, I think, or more. And Ramos not there as well. You felt like it's missing that edge, that bite, that controversy maybe. But it was bound to happen that where they're going to have a Clasico where these guys aren't going to be there. And you mentioned as well the stadium wasn't filled, and they actually had tickets remaining just before kickoff. So it just goes to show maybe interest even in Spain is dying a little bit. Maybe because COVID as well, people recovering as well. But football maybe not as a priority as it was before. But look, Real winning here, big win to break away a bit from Barcelona. Both clubs have one game in hand now, so a few clubs in La Liga now have played 9, some have played 10. So it's still pretty tight there at the top. But good result for Real. But they beat Barcelona last season twice, but didn't win the league. So I would rather they win the league. And also Eden Hazard for the first time in his 2 years made the bench, but didn't play. So, they said that
For the first time in 2 years.
First 4 games didn't even make the squad. This one made the bench, but didn't come off the bench. But they said that he didn't even warm up before the game.
One step at a time with us. Relax. One step at a time.
So
this guy wants him to run on.
He's missed now.
This guy wants him to fucking run on, assist, score a fucking amazing goal, take on 10 players, and then he'll still be like, yeah, but he could have still done something else.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm just pointing it out. 5 Clásicos, hasn't played any of them. But yeah.
This guy's, you've got to be the biggest critic of Eden Hazard in the world, I think.
I was hopeful. I was happy for his signing. I was happy for his signing. He's been here 2.5 years, man. Nothing.
Yeah.
What do you mean nothing? He's getting a good amount of money in his bank.
Oh, I'm saying what he's.
You should see his house, his new cars, everything. What do you mean nothing?
I don't know, man.
Hey, I've got to say, I agree with Johnny's point about the El Clasico losing its interest. I'm not going to lie. I barely saw the highlights, only because it popped up on my feed, and I'm like, and I thought to myself, fuck, I forgot this was even on. I actually forgot that the Clasico was on. That's how much it's faded from my memory, the fact that Ronaldo and Messi have moved on.
I think
it's shit to say.
It's certainly lost some of its, glamour and luster because of those top level elite players. Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi were the 2 greatest players of our generation for the last 10, 15 years, and they both were in El Clasico, right? So the competitiveness was at its peak, and the attention and glamour and all that was at its peak. Now, it feels very different between the 2 lineups. Yeah, the managers are having to go deeper in their bench, look for younger players, look for players that aren't necessarily. You don't have a starting lineup of stars anymore for either side right now. So yeah, but you know what? This is a part where I really enjoy, because let's see where these two clubs will go from here. You know, they're both now in transition. They're both fairly young. You know, Real Madrid's still trying to get a little younger, and you know, trying to get some of the dead wood off Hazard. But besides that, they're both young and upcoming. There's a lot of options that they're going to have, and both have a lot of talent. Vinicius played quite well in this game. It was quite exciting to watch. I'm disappointed you didn't get to see the highlights, Fadi, because you would have really enjoyed watching him play. He was fantastic.
I didn't say I didn't see the highlights. I said I saw the highlights. That's all I saw of it, and I realized that I forgot there's a game was even on.
Really pay attention.
Fucking hell!
Look, and you may be
bad.
right, Ak. I mean, you got Ansu Fati, you got Pedri, you got all these up and young coming players that in the next couple of years may be something. And it's not just the names. If Real Madrid and Barca were first and second, and they were roaring and they were winning and they were without these big star names, it still would have been some sort of exciting. But I think Barca's struggling as a club, footballing, financially, in every aspect. Real Madrid's not the same Real Madrid that they were a couple of years ago. They're scraping wins. They're not winning the 5-0s, the 4-0s. They're scraping wins. Benzema's been the saviour on more than one occasion. I think it's all plays a fact, not just the lack of players, but the form that these teams both came in with to this game in.
Speaking of Pedri, did anyone see that he's got a release clause now of like $1 billion or some stupid amount, something like that? Is that even real?
Yeah. That was Ansu Fati, wasn't it?
I think it was that.
No,
I think it was Ansu Fati. Maybe.
Pedri.
No, but a lot of them have outrageous sums as release clauses, buddy, and they do that specifically because they never want to get done like the way Barca got done with Neymar.
I just thought it was crazy. How old Pedri? How old is he? 20?
18.
18. Fucking there you go.
It's insane that the amount a lot of these players get put on for release clauses. They're absurd, and they're designed to protect the club.
You talk about Clásicos. I mean, who remembers? There's a flashback 10 years ago when Real played Barca 4 times in 18 days in 3 comps.
Yeah.
When the Mourinho-Pep rivalry.
That was the best.
There you go. Pedri's new release clause when he signed his new contract is 1 billion euros.
Mm.
Come on, bro. The guy's 18. Like,
do you think Arsenal will pay it?
maybe. $1 billion and one.
Zimbabwean dollars.
Zimbabwean dollars.
All right, who's got the upper hand, Real Madrid or Barcelona?
Oh,
Real, only just now.
fuck. Bro, as if are you going to doubt Darcy? I'm going with a Darcy on this one.
I saw it on my Facebook feed.
Oh, when did you see it? 17 years ago, and you remembered it?
Today.
I just said it a second ago too. Like it's.
But I don't trust you, bro. No.
Do you know by how many games, Darcy?
3?
Yeah, 3 games. 99 to 96.
Akram, honestly, as if anyone would side with you over Darcy in some statistical question.
But I didn't disagree with Darcy, so that makes no sense.
You know what, though? I'm a little bit
But
surprised.
you answered first.
I am a little bit surprised at these stats because, let's be completely honest here, Real Madrid is probably the biggest club in the world in the history of football. I mean, the number of Champions League titles won, the number of domestic titles, probably the biggest brand in football in the history. You speak to any fan around the world and they know what Real Madrid is. Barcelona, yes, they've been their rival the whole career, but at the same time, they haven't been as successful. They haven't had such major teams like Real Madrid have, especially the Stefano Puskás era. So you think they would have the upper hand. So in my opinion, I thought there'd be a much bigger difference between the two clubs. So 3 games. And if you take into account friendly matches, then Barcelona's in front. But official matches, official matches, that's why I'm not counting them. Official matches, Real is in front by 3 games.
Interesting you mentioned about titles. So Real Madrid have more in Champions League and La Liga, but in the Copa del Rey, Barcelona have more than Real. That's actually a competition that Real have kind of underachieved over the years.
I don't think they care about it as much. They always seem to go out to fucking random teams.
They should though. They should.
What they go out to? What was that team they went out to? We spoke about it at one episode.
We've had a couple of embarrassments in the
Starts with
conference.
A. Starts with A.
Yeah.
Alcoyano
No,
last year, and for 10 years ago it was Alcorcon.
that's the one.
No,
4-0 loss. I remember that.
That's the one. That's the one I was
Alcorcon.
thinking of.
All right, Real Madrid jersey. What comes to mind? I know it's gonna be hard for you guys. There's a lot of players. I know. You don't have to say anything. I know who you're gonna say.
Yeah.
Darcy.
For me, it'd have to be either Raul, Seedorf, or Roberto Carlos. Back when I started supporting the club, back when the old Teca sponsor.
I agree.
Times.
I didn't. Seedorf's it's not one of the first names that comes to mind when I think of Real Madrid
No,
at all. For
neither
me.
do I. For me, it's Zidane.
Okay.
Zidane or R9.
Siemens, the Siemens ad sponsor.
Yeah. Siemens and Teca, the two biggest.
Yeah.
The two biggest that in my head, definitely.
Yeah. For me as well, Raul, Solari, Roberto Carlos, they're the ones that come to mind. I should even ask you.
I don't know who you think I would say. There's so many players.
I mean, Casillas as well.
Yeah. Casillas, Raul, Zidane as well, because you can't watch a Champions League game without them putting the 2002 volley up. So you just think of Real Madrid and Zidane as synonymous for that particular reason. It's just embedded into your mind, right? And then you have like I said, Raul, Roberto Carlos. I also think about more modern day, Cristiano Ronaldo. It's funny to see him in a different jersey, to be honest.
It's been a few years, man. Get over it. He's had the Juve jersey now, the Man United jersey. It's been a while.
Oh my god.
Maybe I shouldn't have said anything there.
All right. What about Barcelona?
For me, I don't know if you guys remember a player, Ivan de la Peña.
That's the first person that comes to mind.
What an obscure fucking name. Right, you're taking a piss.
Bro.
All right.
You're insulting.
He was
I love the trolling.
He was an up and coming player. He was an up and coming player at the time. He was like the next big thing, but this didn't quite kick off back then. I don't know. And then that's when I kind of started watching European football, Barcelona, and he was young at the time, and he scored a mad goal from long range, I remember, but just didn't quite kick off his career since then.
I feel like you're insulting all of us. When you think of the Barcelona jersey, the first name that comes to mind is Ivan de la Peña.
I mean, that's the first time I've kind of watched Barba. You got others, you got Romario, R9 with that solo goal he had.
But you're taking the piss. He's just taking the piss there.
Figo as well.
Figo is taking the piss, bro. He's straight out taking the piss.
All right, let's move on.
Why are you tiptoeing around names? I don't get it.
Throwing it out there.
Fatty, I'm going to you now.
I love it.
I'm going to you.
You obviously can't go past Messi. There's no question. But a close
What do you
second,
mean? What about Ivan de la Peña?
Sorry. But a close second,
I'm just thinking
second.
what I remember.
A close second, and what was synonymous for me watching that style of football and enjoying Barcelona was Ronaldinho.
Yeah, I agree.
And the ushering in of the Messi era post Ronaldinho. That change over there, that was that time. Yeah.
Messi, Ronaldinho, and then I like to think a lot about Rivaldo.
I did, yes, Rivaldo too.
I think the Rivaldo, the jersey, I think he wore that hat trick against Valencia on the final day.
The half and half?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. Bicycle kick from outside the box for them to win the game and to qualify for the Champions League on pretty much the last kick of the last game of the season.
You watched that game though, that hat trick, every goal was unbelievable as well that game.
Yeah.
He scored.
Took it on his chest, flicked it up, bicycle kick from outside the box, just on the edge of the 18
I believe there's a blog about it on our footballretro.com website.
Haven't read it.
I wrote about it. Yeah.
So that's for you to go check it out.
I'll go refresh my memory with it.
Let's not forget the likes of Puyol, Xavi, Iniesta. There are other names that come to mind as well. So
Stoichkov.
Ivan de la Peña.
I don't know. You think about the first time I watched, I remember him in that old jersey. That's all I remember. Yeah. But he
What a
didn't have that
random-
career.
Bro, what a random.
I don't
I don't know what to say.
The first time I remember. Yeah.
That was next level trolling and Darcy. I couldn't believe coming from you. That's petty. That's petty shit, man. Like you made it worse because you justify it by saying, "Look, that's just the first memory." Fair enough, but then you make it worse because you run through every other big name from the 90s. Romario, Ronaldo, yeah, all these other players.
He's just keeping it retro. He's just keeping it retro, bro.
I know what I'm saying.
He gave you a 3-year window.
I mean, this is the show, you know, it's football retro. I remember the 90s, and that's what I remember. That's what came to my mind, you know. I love it.
What a justification, bro.
I love it.
Funny. All right. Quick trivia for you, Hakan and Darcy. Which player has the most appearances in a Clásico?
Ooh.
Appearances.
Interesting. Surely it would be Messi.
Appearances? Jeez. Ramos?
Akram's waiting for Ryan Darcy to jump on, and then he's gonna fucking jump on his.
Sorry, I'm just a
coattails.
stab here. Guess Ramos.
Then so I can say that's what I had at Darcy. Yeah.
Yeah. Just say, I agree with the Darcy.
So Darcy says Ramos. Fadi says Messi. Who did say Ak?
I would say probably Messi or Chendo,
Who?
the Real Madrid right back, because he had such a long career that I thought quantity over he would start to get, rack up those appearances.
All right. So as a trick question, there's two players. It's Messi and Ramos.
Oh, okay.
They're both on 45 each, and now they're teammates, so they can't beat their record.
Oh.
All right, let's jump on to the last rivalry of the weekend. Big game. Salah is on fire.
Yeah.
Your defense is terrified. Salah is on fire.
Yeah.
Liverpool 5, Manchester United 0. Now, for me, as a football fan that comes from a certain culture, the most embarrassing thing was not the result, was not the 5-0, but it was half the stadium leaving with 40 minutes to go. Some people say it's okay, they should have walked out earlier, or fuck, it was disgrace. I come from a place where you don't leave before the game's finished. To 90, even if it's swearing at the players or whatever, 90th minute you stay to the end and you scream your heart out. To leave with 40 minutes to go, it's like in a way turning your back on your club. To me, that's a bigger embarrassment than the scoreline. I'm gonna take it to you guys. What do you think? I tipped Liverpool. I thought they were gonna win. I think no one saw this coming. What are your thoughts?
Buddy, you're the EPL guy.
I'm the EPL guy. Look, for me, I'll touch on that point you made regarding the fans leaving. I think it's a very English thing, and Man United showed that a few times in previous things with the Glazers taking over and all that sort of stuff. So when there's discontent or when the fans aren't happy, this is how they show it. It's a little bit of a different culture to, South American football or other countries where, fans would stay back, or your Eastern European culture where they'd be very aggressive with the team. I think English mentality is a lot different. They would show their discontent by leaving, and they did that because as much as they were pulling off certain results, I think they were just papering over the cracks with Solskjaer. And we spoke about Solskjaer early on. They've got a good squad on paper. They've got a great squad.
Yeah.
He just seems to be struggling to make it gel, and they just keep plucking results that just give him a bit more time, every now and again. Ronaldo gets him clutch winners. Pogba has a great game. They pull a result here and there, and they keep going. But, I don't know. The fans have obviously had enough. Losing to your rival is one thing. Getting humiliated at home is another thing. 5-0. I don't recall United ever being 4-0 down at any time since I've watched the Premier League at home at Old Trafford.
No, wait, hold on. They lost 6-1 to
Yeah,
Man City.
I don't recall them being 4-0 at half time
Okay.
in any game, let alone at Old Trafford. At Old Trafford, it's unheard of for United to be humiliated at Old Trafford in a single half of football. And it was crazy. Sir Alex was there watching the game as well. So you'd wonder what would be going through his mind, looking at, the legacy that he built in that stadium being dismantled by, your biggest rival in the Premier League, because their rivalries, how many titles they each have won. Liverpool obviously count pre-Premier League era as their titles, the old First Division. Man United count everything, but mainly the Premier League era. So there's always that rivalry about who's won the most titles. Geographically, they're obviously close to each other in the north of England. But look, as I said, there's a lot of issues at United. There's been a lot of issues there for years. Since Ferguson left, I don't think they've ever really recovered. And it's just been bringing in managers, trying to paper over cracks, signing players, splurging money. They've spent a shitload of money, not just on transfers, but on wages. I don't know how they're going to fix it, to be honest. The Glazers, they don't want to spend the money.
Funny enough,
They're trying to generate money.
I'm just looking it up, and the 6-1 game I was talking about, Man City at Old Trafford, that happened exactly 10 years ago, 2 days ago.
Wow.
Back with the Edin Dzeko playing for Man City. Jeez.
Yeah. And because of the goal difference in that league, that was the Aguero scoring the winner, and Man City clinching on goal difference. So that game obviously played a big part.
Oh, and that was the game as well. Mario Balotelli put his shirt out and said, "Why always me?" Remember that?
I recall that game.
Look, and I think you're right, Fatty, in regards to, on paper, Man United have put together a very strong team. They managed in the last couple of years to start building and building to it. You look at the strength and the depth of the squad, and you think this is a strong team, and they're just another right manager to lead them.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with both points that you guys are making, because look, during the summer transfer window, a lot of attention was made on Man United's transfer season that they had. It started off really well, and they made shrewd signings. They didn't overspend. I think a lot was to be expected for Sancho. I don't think he's necessarily lived up to expectation completely. And then they'll manage to get Cristiano Ronaldo on a very cheap cheap deal. And everyone was like, wow, this is all of a sudden this feeling. And I think we even commented about it right at the end of the transfer window when we commented on Cristiano Ronaldo leaving and going to Man United. It felt like a Man United of old. It felt like a traditional transfer window where Man United really stretched their muscle financially and their brand. So then here we go into the season, and unfortunately, it's not the Manchester United of old. It's the Manchester United of, very recently, which is to say pretty underachieving, disappointing results.
Yeah, I think you guys, Paddy and Ak, touched on it. Just they pull out a result, here and there to paper over the cracks. And, it happened a couple of years ago when they beat PSG in the Champions League, and all the, sayings from Rio Ferdinand coming out saying Ole's at the wheel and all that stuff. And then they just didn't quite kick on from there. They had a few good results and then back to crashing down to earth again. So would you say, though, that the signing of Cristiano Ronaldo has kind of damaged the way the team is structured? Maybe Edinson Cavani is a better fit in there? Do you reckon maybe Ronaldo had a few good games at the start, but now it's kind of like they're trying to target him all the time, and do you reckon it's affected them in a way?
Sorry, Fatty, I'm going to jump in. To be honest, Darcy, if you can't fit Cristiano in your team, or you can't make it work with him in your team, then you shouldn't manage anyone. That's my opinion. Like he's not a player like a Riquelme where you have to build your whole team around him. He's just a goal scorer. So find a way to make it work so he can score goals. He's not going to track back. You know that. He's not going to be a team player. He's going to be the bloke who's going to be there and score goals.
And look, he has been scoring. I mean, like he's doing what he can. I'm watching them play, but maybe there's other issues in the field. Like I mentioned Jadon Sancho. What's he done?
Yeah, there's a lot of hype around him.
Like
Yeah,
But
look, they've obviously recruited really well on paper, as we said. A lot of people have spoken about Sancho, and they've spoken about how Solskjaer is sort of trying to manage him in slowly into the squad. But unfortunately, I don't know. And the strange thing is that a lot of these players had good Euros, with the exception of, one or two. But a lot of these players had a good Euros. Even Pogba. France didn't do what they wanted to do, but Pogba had a good Euro. Varane, obviously, for France. Ronaldo. Okay, Ronaldo's Ronaldo, as we
Bruno
always said.
Fernandes.
England had a good Euro. Portugal had a good Euro. Shaw, Sancho didn't make much of an appearance, but he was there. He was with the squad. He was in the camp. So you would expect that these players are all seasoned enough to come in and really take it to the league at least. Forget about the Champions League, but at least to be challenging in the league comfortably. Now, 9 games in, they're level points with Arsenal.
I was going to say that now.
So it's funny. They're both on 14 points. What do you say? Arsenal started off with 3 losses in a row. United started off, everyone thought, shit, the signings they made. Even as Akram said, we did touch on it, and we said, we felt like if Solskjaer could, keep them on track and keep them focused, that there'd be challenges this year. They look very disjointed. They look very, very disjointed. Harry Maguire is an absolute joke. I've mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again. I don't care who's around him. You put Varane next to him, and he's still a joke.
Let's everyone's focusing on how bad United is doing, but you can't take anything away from Liverpool. Love him or hate him like Fatty does. Like I said, Salah, everything's just gelling together. Everything's working. They are looking like real contenders. They are looking dangerous, and they're just getting hotter and hotter as they play more matches.
Liverpool, you can't deny the fluidity that they're playing with under Klopp. People rejoice when they drop points. It's similar to when City was, that City era that they absolutely dominated. I'm not saying that they're not dominant now, but there was an era there where they were terrifying a few years ago. And it feels like that with Liverpool. The way that Klopp's got them going, he's got that team mentality. They fight for each other, and they have that skill that that they have that player that could create out of nothing. And it's not just one. You have Salah, you have Mane, who'll be on the end of moves. Their moves are fluid. It's crazy to watch. At the moment, as you said, Salah's on fire. Salah, arguably right now, on form, best player in the world. No question.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. He's Salah's on another level this year, and not just the amount of goals he's scoring and his assists, but the type of goals he's scoring, just incredible. And also one of their midfielder, Naby Keita, who was criticised at the start of his career at Liverpool. He's kind of built in some good form at the moment. And also you had the front three of Salah, Firmino, and Mane for a couple of years, but you got Diogo Jota as well, they got some good depth there, in the attack. So and
I said it off camera as well. If Salah was on this form all year round, hands down Ballon d'Or. If he continues next year, he'll definitely win the Ballon d'Or. The
only thing that hinders Salah is the national team. I mean, as long I left for a Cup of Nations, but there's not much more they can do. They're not going to do anything. They probably won't qualify for the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree with you, Fatty. It looks like on form, he's perhaps the best player in the world, and he could take that form into 2022. But it's a World Cup year, and that always throws a massive spanner in the works in projecting all those kind of awards and things like that. You never know. Messi could win the World Cup next year, Johnny. Fingers crossed.
Relax.
Don't even say it.
Relax, Akram. Fucking hell, look at him. He's going to start having nightmares now.
Head to head, United, Liverpool. Who's in front? Let's go, quick.
United.
I'd say Liverpool.
I'd say Man United.
United 81, Liverpool 69.
69.
So 12 games in front.
See, Fatty, you're going to disagree with Darcy. What a dickhead.
All right, let's jump straight into it. United. You think of the United jersey. Who do you think of? To me, it's Cantona, even Beckham, and George.
For me, it's that sharp. It's that sharp jersey.
Sorry.
It caused you pain to say that, didn't it?
No, but it's associations. It's
I
psychology
know,
101.
but you did stumble over the word a little. Even Beckham, it's just a
I
little
like
twist
Beckham.
there.
Hey, disclosure. I used to have Beckham's boots. I used to do my hair like Beckham. I don't hate the guy. I just think he's overrated.
You still do your hair like Beckham. Fuck.
I
That's
wish
because he changed his
I
hair.
wish I had his money.
Giggs is another one as well.
Yeah.
For me, it's the sharp jersey with Roy Keane.
Okay. They're sharp. Remember that tablecloth that came out as well?
I hated that jersey.
Reminds me of Chicharito, that jersey, of Van Persie, that jersey.
Yeah.
Van Persie, yeah. They had their third kit, I think back in the 90s, was the grey one that they played, and they ended up not winning a game whenever they wore that, and halftime they were losing. I think 2 or 3-0 against
Fergie the jersey.
and then Ferguson made them change at halftime. He's like, we're not wearing this jersey ever again, and they never wore it after that.
All right, to finish off the whole episode, Liverpool, you think of the jersey, who do you think of?
Steven Gerrard.
Yeah, when you have
Robbie Fowler.
Yeah, that's came to mind straight away, Fowler and Gerrard.
Liverpool's got to be the Carlsberg jersey. There's no question. It's definitely got to be the Carlsberg jersey. Man, there's some funny names there. That early 2000s Liverpool, I would say Michael Owen is also a candidate there.
Yeah.
They had a lot of success in the FA Cups with him and that domestic cup treble. Your Steve Gerrard goes without saying. But then you get your centre backs as well, who were there for a while. Sammy Hupia was there for a very, very long time.
So sorry, this is a
always
derby
think of him.
where we had one Aussie on each team. Let's see if you guys can pick it out.
That's saying yes.
Boza,
He's thinking.
Bosnich.
No, you're talking about now.
Bosnich
You're talking about today.
Kiel.
No. Yeah, I'm talking about the history of both clubs.
Oh, and the history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bosnich and Kiel.
Harry Kewell had a lot of success with Liverpool. And he did well for an Aussie to be at Liverpool and be scoring the kind of goals he was scoring. It was great. Bosnich, I don't know if you'd call it a success. I think his only success came when they won, what was that trophy called? They beat Palmeiras, I think, in the final.
99.
Cup, wasn't it?
99.
Was it 99?
Intercontinental Cup, yeah.
Club World Cup or Intercontinental, whatever it was called at the time.
Yeah, he had one good year, and then next season they signed Bartes, and that was kind of the end of his time there.
Yeah, Bartes wasn't fucking good at all.
The whole lot of his career is the video he made with Dwight York at a hotel. If you haven't watched it, go on YouTube. On that note, guys, end of the show. Thanks again. I'm glad I'm back. I missed you guys.
You just wanted to come back and gloat with your fucking jersey. That's why.
Oh, if we lost this morning, it'll be hard for me to show face.
Yeah, we would have messaged Akram. Hey, Akram, can you take the episode? Take the show tonight, please.
But on that note, a big hello to John O'Cram, Dennis, all the other big Boca fans out there that are watching. Big kiss to you all. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week with a big episode.
Ciao.
Thank you.